Hello, this is Grace again. We will talk some more about autism. So a question was asked in a comment, really, where I got my diagnosis, and rather than just throwing doctors' names out there I want to talk about the process of being diagnosed. So there are some challenges, and it's to me, it was very important to have a diagnosis because it's very validating. But also, when you're diagnosed, you can apply for benefits that you're entitled to, and there are available, agencies and things like that assist. Maybe not so much in Tucson. And the comment was, from a friend in Phoenix that we don't know what resources are out there right now either for adults. So getting diagnosed, some people go ahead and self-diagnose. So they've learned what they did about autism, and they realize, hey, this describes me, this is my life, and this is how I experience the world. And then they go to talk to a doctor about it, and maybe they get denied or rejected. It happened to me. The first doctor that I tried to talk to about autism, they didn't believe me, and they thought I was trying to sell them something, or that I was exaggerating or making up my symptoms. It was a terrible experience. So just as you go out there, be prepared for that. The difference when I did get my diagnosis, though, so the way my doctor diagnosed me was through an observational assessment. So we didn't do standardized specific testing. We went through a conversation, and he asked me questions about my childhood and about my social skills, and just things that I remembered. And it was a pretty big experience to have. And once we got through it, he said that the autism spectrum disorder was a good fit, which I already myself believed at that point. So it was good to be validated with a diagnosis. And I have the paper. I have proof now. Which to a lot of people is very, very important. To me, it was important. Some people are comfortable self-diagnosing, and they don't feel like they need that validation. And good for them. Hooray. When you go to a doctor, if you don't do your homework beforehand, so you can find out, one, do they have any experience with adult autism? Because many people only have experience with the childhood autism. Do they have experience with adult autism? And what kind of testing or observational interviews would they do to complete the diagnosis? Because some doctors that diagnose autism use the old tests and the old models, and those were designed decades ago, really, and they were designed for boys, not adult men or adult women or girls. They were designed to evaluate boys only, because it was previously believed that females didn't get autism at all. It was also previously believed that autism is a childhood disorder, and you know what, like magically goes away when you get older. Well, you know, news to you, it does not. It does not go away. People can learn coping skills, masking. Okay, we can talk about masking. That's when you go out into the world and you pretend that you're normal, and it's really hard to do because, you know, it doesn't feel right, and you have to act like someone you're not, and maybe don't do all your little weird little twitchy things, or, you know, whatever, and you fit in. So, you know, those are, so you might be considered high functioning or not autistic at all, because you've managed to camouflage yourself so well that no one's actually going to believe you because you appear totally functional, right? So, I mean, yeah, not to be cynical about it, but diagnosis is great. But, you know, it might not be just a trip to the doctor. It might be a challenge, some kind of adventure that you go on, trying to prove to somebody with a medical license that you indeed experience the world in this way. Yeah, so just for your mental health and safety, just, you know, prepare yourself. You know, I don't want to be like, hey, prepare to be disappointed, but what's worse than going in there with, like, you know, your head up? Maybe you're finally like, wow, I've been different my whole life. Now I know what's wrong with me, or wrong, whatever, you know. Now I know why I'm weird, or like, I have no friends. No kidding, right? So now I know why I have no friends, or can't get along with people, or, you know, I do this or do that. Now I know, right? So you're convinced that, you know, you're going to go in there and you're going to talk to the doctor about it, and they're going to be like, oh, yes, of course. Yes, I definitely see what you're talking about and agree with you. And, you know, that would be wonderful, right? But that's not always how it goes down, especially if you have other diagnoses. You know, we can talk about that too, because misdiagnosis for autistic adults, especially the high functioning ones, you know, I'm not knocking people that have bipolar, okay? You're out there, you're doing your thing, you know, you cope, you do your thing. But so many autistic adults are misdiagnosed with bipolar, teenagers too. Yep. And then they get medicated for something they don't have, and they get treated, you know, for something that they don't have. And it's wrong, okay? And autistic people get depressed, right? But for a lot of them, SSRIs, you know, your typical first-line antidepressants, those medications don't always work, you know. And when you have co-occurring disorders, the autism plus the PTSD or plus the ADHD, you know, and you're an adult now, your life has been totally complicated already, and you've gone through so much, right? So you walk into it, and, you know, a lot of doctors, they don't care what you have to say. They have a book, it's called the DSM-5, and it has criteria, okay? Criteria, you can look it up, it's free online, go, I recommend it. You go and you look up the PTSD, the bipolar, you look up schizoaffective, schizophrenia, okay? You look up you know, what else? What did I, you know, train of thought, right? Because I want to talk about psychosis also, and that's very important. But that's not what I'm mentioning right now. What I'm talking about right now is going into a doctor believing that they're going to agree with you, and then to have that not happen. Okay? So that's actually a very likely scenario. It's more likely for women than it is for men. So if you go, the first doctor you go to, and they check you out, and they don't think you have it, if you still believe that it fits for you, keep going, find somebody else. If you want that diagnosis, find somebody else and talk to them. But you might want to study a little bit first also, because you don't, and I'm telling you anyways, how about this? I'll just assume you don't react well when you're questioned under pressure, social stress. So this guy or girl, this doctor, right, they're going to be asking you personal questions about your childhood, and maybe honestly you're confused or don't remember, or so you might want to go through some read some articles or do some research about how autism presents in childhood, because there's this conception, right? So autistic people, they have to be like, no eye contact, silent, rocking back and forth, or they do the flapping, or they do the screeching, which I have seen. Okay, plenty of autistic kids really are that non-functional, and that's all right for them. Okay, that's how they experience the world. And there's a lot of help out there for that severe of autism in children. That's what you get when you go online and you see these companies and organizations, and there's always there's pictures of kids and people, and they're happy, and they have sensory stuff, and that's great, okay, because that needs help. I'm not knocking that, but there's a full spectrum. That's why they call it autism spectrum disorder. So just because you can speak, you have learned how to make eye contact, and you control your little twitchy, they call them stimming, so stim, self-stimulation, right? Stimming. You control your stimming behaviors, and you force yourself to mask so you can appear normal, right? That doesn't mean that you don't have severe autistic symptoms, okay? It just means that they're not as outward, right now for you as they are in these children that have the extreme cases. And the point of all this that I'm saying is that many of the doctors just refuse to recognize the different levels of functionality, on the spectrum. So you can be totally non-functional when maybe it's your day off, right? And you're just in crash and burn mode, and you can't leave the house, and you can't talk to people, and forget, trying to do anything other than things that comfort you, because you're totally burnt out from all the other stuff you had to do to fake being normal, while you're at work, or school or whatever. And, those are the symptoms that nobody sees, because, we are trained by society to mask, to hide those things. So yeah, that's pretty much my advice about going to the doctor. Be okay with getting rejected, just in case it happens. Good luck out there. Do your research, because they're going to ask questions, and maybe you walk in there and they don't believe you before you even start talking. Facts. Okay? Maybe they are open-minded, maybe they're not. You're not going to know until you get there and you get through it and you hear what they have to say. Yeah. So maybe write notes if you are a notes-taking person, or if you're the kind of person that practices talking to yourself in the mirror or something. But here's what you don't want to do is let them take away your truth. if you experience the world in a different way and you believe you are on the spectrum, you probably are. Getting a diagnosis, again, I'm reviewing things, so I'm repetitive. Repetitiveness is part of autism for me, not everybody has that symptom. But actually, so I review things in my mind, and then I play them back out, and I'm trying to consolidate, and, I get repetitive and cyclical, and it really annoys people. So, that's why I'm making excuses for myself, because I don't care if I repeat myself. I feel like I'm being thorough. But a lot of people, you already said that, or you're talking in circles again. And that's another one I've heard, and I love it, right? I am who I am. You are who you are. So if you take notes, if you practice, if you do any of that, and just, they're gonna want to know about your childhood. Did you have friends? Did you I like, for me, loud noises bother me. So, I used to cover my ears and say, it's too loud. My mom thought it was cute. Because I said cloud instead of loud. And I liked certain noises, like, clicky noises. I had tap shoes or something I called my clacky shoes. And I would always make the little noises with the shoes. And, I loved school. But I didn't have friends. Like, I didn't notice that I didn't have friends. I didn't need friends at that point in my life. I liked the learning. I liked math, reading, science, anything, art, anything. I used to catch bugs and snakes and frogs, and I didn't have my childhood in Tucson. There were frogs and snakes where I was, but I was more interested in learning and nature and the environment, and I got a nickname when I was a youth. They called me the Walking Dictionary because I apparently had a really high vocabulary or something. I took it as a compliment. I really, now as an adult, I don't think it was meant that way. So awkwardness and, just not understanding other people's motivations, like, ever. You expect them to do one thing and they do something completely different. And, neurotypical people can be used to that and comfortable with it, but autistic people can experience it in a very different and disturbing way. Like, people do stuff. They say they're going to do one thing and then they don't, or their face says one thing but their words say another, and those kinds of things. So for me, my experience, I was able to talk about it with this doctor, and I actually got a diagnosis. But the first doctor I went to, it was just gross, horrible, belittling. I ended up crying, and it was just awful. So anybody out there, that's looking to go get a diagnosis, yes, go ahead, try. I believe in you. Just wanted you to have a friggin' heads up. All right, everybody, see you next time.